I still remember the way the sunlight poured through those big bay windows on our first day. We had finally done it, bought our dream house after years of saving, sacrificing, and planning. My husband David carried me over the threshold like we were newlyweds again. I laughed until tears filled my eyes. "This is our fresh start," he whispered, kissing my forehead. "Just you and me, forever." For 7 perfect days, it felt like heaven. We unpacked boxes together, danced in the empty living room, made love in our new bedroom while the scent of fresh paint still lingered. I cooked our first meal in that beautiful kitchen and watched him smile across the table like he used to when we were dating. I felt safe, cherished, like everything we had worked for was finally ours. On the evening of the 7th day, my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. A woman's voice, quiet and urgent, said, "Is this Emily? Please don't hang up. I used to live in your house. We need to talk. But don't tell your husband. Come alone. Tomorrow at the old cafe on Maple Street. 2 p.m. My heart slammed against my ribs. I asked who she was, but she only repeated, "Don't tell him. It's about your marriage. Come alone." Then she hung up. I stood there in our beautiful new kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear, feeling the first crack in my perfect world. David walked in whistling, wrapped his arms around me from behind, and asked what was wrong. I forced a smile and said it was nothing, just a wrong number. But inside my stomach was twisting. Who was she? And why couldn't I tell my husband? That night I barely slept. I kept staring at the ceiling of our dream bedroom, replaying her words. "It's about your marriage." What could the former owner possibly know about us? We had only been here a week. Yet deep down, I already sensed something dark was waiting for me. The next afternoon, I lied. I told David I was meeting an old friend for coffee. He kissed me goodbye without suspicion. As I drove to the cafe, my hands shook on the steering wheel. I told myself it was probably nothing, maybe a complaint about the property or some forgotten mail. But my heart knew better. She was already sitting in the corner booth when I arrived. A woman in her late 50s, elegant but tired, with sharp eyes that had clearly seen too much. Her name was Margaret. She slid an envelope across the table before I could even order. "Open it when you're alone," she said softly. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way. But you deserve the truth." I waited until I was back in my car before opening the envelope. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. David and a younger woman, beautiful, smiling, her hand on his chest, taken right outside our new house. Some photos were from months before we even made an offer. Other pictures showed them inside the house, laughing, embracing. Margaret's voice trembled when I called her later that night from a parking lot. She told me everything. The younger woman was her daughter, Claire. David had been seeing her for over a year. He had promised Claire he would leave me. He even used our joint savings to help pay for renovations on the house, this house, so we could have a private place to meet her while pretending we were house hunting as a couple. The house wasn't our dream. It was their secret nest. I sat in the car and cried until I couldn't breathe. Everything we had built, every late night he said he was working, every weekend he claimed he was stressed about money, it was all lies. He had looked me in the eyes and planned our future in the very house where he was betraying me. When I got home, David greeted me with that same warm smile. He pulled me into his arms and asked how my coffee date went. I wanted to scream. Instead, I said it was fine and went upstairs to our bedroom, their bedroom, and stared at the walls. I felt shattered, broken in a way I didn't know was possible. For days, I moved through our beautiful house like a ghost. I smiled when he smiled. I cooked dinner. I let him hold me at night. But inside, something was changing. The pain was slowly turning into something colder, clearer. I started gathering proof, quietly. I went through his old emails on the home computer. Found messages between him and Claire, voice notes, even videos. Margaret helped me, bless her broken heart, by giving me more dates and locations. Every new piece of evidence felt like another shard of glass in my chest. But I kept going. One evening, David came home early and found me sitting at the kitchen table with the photos spread out in front of me. His face went pale. "Emily, it's not what you think," he started. I looked at him, the man I had loved for 12 years, and felt nothing but ice. "I think it's exactly what it looks like," I said quietly. "You brought me to the house where you betrayed me. You made me fall in love with these walls while you were making plans to leave me." He cried. He begged. He swore it was over, that Claire meant nothing. But the damage was done. My heart had already closed the door on him. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I simply stood up, looked him in the eyes, and said, "You have 30 days to get out of my house," because it was my house now. While he was busy with his affair, I had made sure the deed listed only my name, something I had insisted on for peace of mind after a friend's bad divorce. He had laughed at the time and called me paranoid. Now that decision became my quiet power. The next weeks were brutal but necessary. I exposed the truth to our closest friends and family, not with rage, but with calm dignity. I showed the evidence to his boss because some of those secret meetings had happened during work hours using company resources. His reputation crumbled. Claire reached out to apologize. I met her once. She was young and foolish, but she wasn't the real villain. David was. I told her to move on with her life and never contact us again. David tried everything: flowers, letters, promises to change. But I had already changed. I hired a lawyer and made sure the divorce would leave me with the house, the savings he hadn't already spent, and my dignity intact. On the day he moved out, he stood in the driveway with his suitcase, looking broken. I watched from the window of the house he once called ours. As his car drove away, I finally let myself breathe. Margaret came by a few weeks later. We sat on the porch of what was now truly my home and drank tea. She thanked me for believing her. I thanked her for saving me from a lifetime of lies. Today I still live in this beautiful house. I've redecorated every room, filled it with new memories, and planted a garden in the backyard. Sometimes I walk through the rooms and smile. Not because I'm glad it happened, but because I survived it. I grew stronger in the very place that was meant to destroy me. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Sometimes the most painful betrayals lead us to the most powerful versions of ourselves. Never ignore that quiet voice when something feels wrong. Trust it, protect your peace. And remember, you don't have to burn the house down to get revenge. Sometimes you just claim it as your own and build a better life inside it. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been betrayed, know that you're not alone. And you will rise again. Word count approximately 1,380.